All right. We're here in windy Edinburgh, with Rami Vance, urban fantasy and LitRPG author. This used to be a lake or a lock.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
We're still here in Edinburgh and ran into my old friend Rami. Known you since the very first 20 books, right?
It's been a while.
Yeah,
I think it was 2018 was my first one I went to.
Okay, so yeah, it was the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've always offered to be a host if we came to town, and here we are. And I thought we'd catch up and talk about what it's like for you as an author that has been in the trenches now since 2018.
Yeah, well, 2015 is when I got my start, and then 2018 was the first time I made an income that I didn't need insurance, right? I could live off of it. It paid for the mortgage, the kids, well, at the time, the kid. Since my book business went off, my wife has demanded more children. That's I'm just kidding, but yeah. But it is true. There's two now. COVID baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, no, I've been full time since 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you got started, very different world. Kind of tell me about like coming into that market and learning about how to, find your customers and what you did to kind of connect with your audience.
So in the beginning, so first of all, I think I got in a little late, right? Because a lot of kind of the OG success stories are kind of 2014, 2015 start. I definitely got my son in 2015, but it took a few years to actually kind of build up enough books and enough of a following to actually live off of it. And one of the things that I did in the early days, which, in 2018 was, it was the schnizzle. If you remember, was the box set release, right? At 99 cents, you do the big visibility thing. And, that still works to a very limited degree. But in 2018, 19, 20, that was a major strategy that worked for a lot of people who could, implement it correctly. And you needed to have a decent book and stuff like that. And then as we progressed, I just started becoming more and more cognizant of, what readers wanted. And that was the big shift, right? So instead of just writing things that tickled my fancy, I'd actually look at the market and go, oh man, vampires are in, or dragons are in, or this are in, or that's in. And I just kind of started doing that and focusing on it. And then around 2020, I guess I'd have to kind of look this up a bit more. I think 2022, I started really getting into co-authoring. And so there's a handful of co-authors that I've worked with and am working with, and we just aim to release a series a year. And that's been going really well. But that said, and I know I'm probably jumping the shark on this one, the last 18 months has been a fist fight. Yeah.
What, when you say it's been a fist fight, what does that kind of mean for you? When did you notice that change? And then when did you oh, this is really what I signed up for?
Yeah. So I'm going to just, look into the camera at the risk of pissing off a lot of people and say that anyone who tells you what the answer is full of shit, because we just don't know. All right. I would love to be able to point at and say this is what's plaguing us right now. And I have some theories, and I really need to emphasize they are just theories, but I think it's I just feel like with the whole AI revolution, there are a lot of kind of features and things being shipped without being fully tested that are just throwing wrenches continuously into the machine. So I never had that lightning strike, right? Where I've had, I just released that series and it just took off. I've never been that guy. And, I've caught a little bit of static in a bottle for a couple of my releases, but for the most part, I'm the guy who I release to my list and then I actively have to market, keep the sales going. Yeah. And, and so I'm very reliant on two things: Amazon's algorithm organically pushing me, but organically pushing me, right?
Yeah.
You know, in as much as it means that like I just couldn't tell you where the sales come from, and Facebook ads, right? Like that has been my bread and butter up until probably about August 2024, that's when I noticed like, oh my God, things are not doing what they did, right? You know, and it still works, but it's such a fist fight. It's such a, you know, really staying on top of it and, you know, just really being in it. I am hopeful that this is just a wobble and, you know, you have to pivot and evolve and grow with the market realities and, you know, eventually come out the other side. That's my hope, at least. Otherwise, I might have to give up one of my children. Yeah, you know.
Get good money for them.
Yeah.
As long as they're well behaved. I think that some of it is kind of like it's mindset in the sense of, for somebody that's new, they would say, "Oh, well, you're an established author. You're lucky because you got started in 2018." I remember interviewing John Loxton and Jerry Riddle, and they got started in 2012, like within a month of each other, and they're like, "Yeah, it was easy to be that guy." But so there is some benefit in like being in early and having some audience, and you know, maybe like where we're at now is, you can think of only like, oh, I wish it was like it used to be, or we're now getting one of these phases where 5 years from now, people would be like, "Oh, well, you were lucky when you were there." It's like, no, it wasn't. You know,
You don't understand how much effort. No, I think that's true. I think like what people have been in the business for a while, the advantage we have is that we understand things are constantly changing, that you have to constantly pivot, that you have to constantly evolve with the reality of the market. And so when you're kind of struck down, it's not as big a shock. And because there are certainly things that happened in 2020 and 2022 that I remember going, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah.
This is a big one. And I don't know, lucky or unlucky, but I came after they changed the KEMP payout model. If you remember those days. Yeah. I mean, that was like crazy. And I can just imagine being there when they changed the payout model. For those authors must have really struggled with the change.
Well, it was last year at the show. Mary Stone was there, who writes mysteries and thrillers and stuff, and she was talking just about that, about how like as a single mom, and she finally kind of had something working, and then all of a sudden that model changed, and like I think at the time she was writing romance, and then she shifted to writing thrillers and suspense, and like her career has like really taken off since then. But like, it's so hard when you're in that position where this is where all the money's coming from. Like on the aspirational side, oh, I want to be a full-time author. It's like, okay, that means this is paying for everything. The stakes are high.
Yeah. The stakes are high. And the thing is like, because we're authors, right? We're all dreaming of that amazing story that's swimming in our head, and we're like artistes. And I think like the reality of running a business is more important than ever. In 2018, I could indulge some of the artiste whims.
Yeah.
And I still think that's very important to do, but I have to do that with a very like heavy focus on like, what is the market going to tolerate? So, I work with these co-authors, and a lot of them are younger, like much earlier in their career, very talented authors, and they'll come with these wild ideas, and I'll just be on the phone call and just laughing oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I love it. No. No, we're not doing, and it's not because I don't want to do that. It's like, because like, like we're following a very specific model and a very specific branding, right? Like in the LitRPG stuff, it's all, I know this is going to sound very contradictory, but it's all fun apocalypse, right? And it's like, I can't have, as great as this idea is like, this isn't fun apocalypse.
Yeah.
And so I always to say like, work on that as well. And, because you never know, that could work really well, and then do that kind of as a solo project, or if they want to co-author, there are other authors that's more in line with their brand and stuff. But yeah, the business is super important. And if you're not willing to put in the time and the reps to figure it out, this isn't for you.
Yeah. You made me think about it. I remember an author who also co-writes, publishes, mainly publishes other people, but he'd signed up a guy on a premise, and when the books finally came in, they were very, very different.
Yeah.
And very dark.
Yeah.
And the guy went back to this author and was like, hey, these are good books. Don't get me wrong. Like, you should publish these. I can't publish them because I've built this brand and this audience that would actually react to this completely and would hurt the chances of this being a successful book. So like, I tell that story to like, that's where you have to kind of weigh these things. It's like, if you are really thinking, you know, once you've built a brand, you have locked yourself in some ways to having, if you want to keep those people coming back, serving them with what they want.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The hard thing is like building a brand is, you know, and I know we were talking about this earlier when we were just chatting. It's not about like most readers don't give a crap who the author is unless you're Stephen King or like Lee Child. And if you are, God bless you. And but like for most of us, people don't know my name, but they might know some of the series. And so when I think about branding,
we're good. I've just covered print.
When I think about branding, it's like, what are the feelings that the reader is coming back for?
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I think there's just so much content out there that like you don't necessarily get a second chance with a reader if you write something that doesn't fit what you're growing. And you know, you might lose them forever. So,
well, you know, what I always say is you like with a lot of marketing, we get into all the like Facebook ads and this and that. And it's like, if you're designing from the back end out, which in the back end of really good marketing, in my thinking, is word of mouth.
Yeah.
So you want somebody that's read your book to remember the book, better the author, and say to somebody, oh, you got to read Rami Vance's, it's fun stuff, and you have fun with the apocalypse, whatever your kind of, your elevator pitch that you want to indoctrinate to your audience. But you got to close that loop when that person that they suggest the book to picks it up. If they don't get that, then like all that work goes out the window. And I think sometimes we forget about like just that consistency through that whole deal.
Yeah, it's true. And I one thing that I have changed and pivoted on, and it's not pivoted, that's not the right word, but like evolved on it, for lack of a better word, is I will spend a lot more time getting reader feedback before we release.
Yeah.
Right. And so with LitRPG, you have Royal Road, and we're not publishing on Royal Road to try to get anything other than, you know, just people who like the genre, who love the genre, just kind of coming in and being like, yes, that's awesome, or no, that makes no sense. And, you know, things that I never considered important in, you know, like I kind of shows itself as important, you know. So with LitRPG, you have the system, and the system's super important. What I had miscalculated, kind of getting some of this feedback that in the projects that we're working on that we're releasing on Royal Road, is just how important it is that the system has a unique angle to it. Right? You know, like people are tired of, well, I don't know if they're tired, but like they really want to engage with a system that is unique to other LitRPG projects, right? So, and I think I had underestimated that because, you know, I knew the system was important. I just didn't, and I do think that most readers just skim the numbers when it comes to, like, they're not actually like, oh, he's off 7% here and 3% there. But what they are looking for is that unique angle to how the system distributes XP or, you know, skills or loot missions. You know?
No, that makes sense. That it's kind of one of those things where it's almost like a trope right?
Yeah.
Like they want it to be something that that they can easily access, but also is kind of engaging them and keeps the interest. That makes a lot of sense. I think that, that you brought up Royal Road. And I think what's so interesting, we tend to focus a lot of the negative stuff, the changes in the industry. But, you go back 2018, nobody was thinking about publishing on Royal Road. Nobody was thinking about a model of like, I'm going to give this story away on a weekly basis free.
Yeah.
Not that that's a new idea. It's hundreds of years old. Right?
Yeah.
But that would become a whole kind of economic opportunity for authors to like, oh, I can actually get my advanced readership to help me improve the product. And the ones that really love it are going to come on Patreon and pay me a little bit of money, right? To get ahead. And then that next layer of, and if you take that and put all those stories together and turn it into audio, you could make 20 to 100x amount of money with that story.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like, it's never been easier to reach your audience, but it's never been harder to engage. Right. And it's like there's tons of ways to reach them, and there's tons of formats that you can play with, and there's tons of, channels or platforms that you can release on. But the problem is that there's also a ton of distractions. Right. And so I think it becomes, it's like a relationship, and it's a relationship where you don't have necessarily the ability to kind of explain yourself. And so you have to kind of create these expectations, create these, expectations, which is what the branding is, and then fulfill on these expectations consistently. Otherwise you start to lose them. And it's hard. Like, it just wasn't, I wish I had all the answers. Like I said, the last year and a half have been a fist fight, and it's been me very, very consciously thinking about like, where do I want to go with this? What am I actually trying to build? How am I going to build it? Where am I going to build it? What formats am I going to build it? There's just so many things that I'm taking into consideration that I just kind of took for granted in 2018 and ending at 20,
That makes sense. So before we wrap up, why don't you tell people like what's your next series coming out and where they can find you?
Yeah. Well, you can find us on Amazon. I publish urban fantasy, and right now I have most of my stuff on my website, so rami-vance.com. And then if you are in LitRPG, me and my co-authors have created a shared pin name called Connor Malachi. So this is a made-up human being, but it represents me and the gang, so to speak. And we're releasing something called the Seventh Apocalypse very soon. A fun one. It's kind of like Pokemon meets Mortal Kombat. So,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.